So I think we were discussing about Docker file. We know how to create a Docker file and all. See, yesterday we were discussing about Docker file and I told you that there are some predefined keywords. We use some predefined keywords for creating customized Docker images. What is the purpose why we are writing Docker file? We are writing Docker file because we are going to create customized Docker images. To create your customized Docker images, we need to write a Docker file. Then we need to convert that into Docker image. So we have seen some keywords in the Docker file. And I also told you that all the keywords we are using in the Docker file, they must be case sensitive. You have to give like this only. Okay, all the keywords we are using here, they must be case sensitive. And we already understood what is the purpose of from keyword yesterday itself. The purpose of from keyword is to specify the base image. To specify the base image from which the Docker file has to be created. So if you want to create your customized image, definitely you have to mention the base image. So for mentioning the base image, you have to use from keyword. Then maintainer keyword we have already discussed. It represents the name of the organization or otherwise name of the author who created the Docker file. Maintainer represents name of the organization or otherwise the author who created the Docker file. And we have also used CMD. Whenever we use the CMD keyword, okay, if we use the CMD keyword, then it is used to specify the initial command that should be executed whenever the container starts. So we have seen many examples, like this is one example. This is one example where we have used the CMD keyword. See, this is a Docker file. This is the Docker file. What we are mentioning from keyword we are mentioning, and we are giving the base images CentOS. And we are giving maintainer keyword. We are giving this one as organization as Logic Lab something. So CMD, we are giving CMD keyword and providing the date here. So when did this date command will be executed? We have already discussed. This date command will be executed whenever the container starts, only whenever the container starts. So once you start the container, the first command that will execute here is date command. So if you want anything to be executed as a first command once the container is started. So this command will executed only once the container is started. So to build an image, we have already seen the commands to build an image. So once you give these commands and all, we are saving all the contents in the Docker file, VIM space Docker file. Once you give all these things, if you want to build an image from the Docker file, we will give a command called docker build -t. Docker build -t and the image name we are going to tag the image name. This is the image name. Okay, you are going to create. My CentOS dot represent the current location. You mean you are saying that your Docker file is in the current location. That's why we are giving dot symbol here. Docker build -t image name dot. If you want to see the list of images, you can use Docker images. And one more thing, if you want to run container from the image, running container from the image, we know that Docker run directly image name we can provide. If you want to interact with that image, if you want to interact with the container, then we can use -it. Docker run image name will create a container from this image. And usually -it stands for interactive terminal. If you want to interact with the container, which is created from the image called my CentOS, then you can run this particular command. And see here in one Docker file, we have seen this also. In one Docker file, we can have more than one CMD instructions. In one Docker file, we can have more than one CMD instructions also. If we give two CMD instructions, it executes the latest one. Okay, if we give multiple CMD instructions, it will execute only the latest one. So this is the from keyword, maintainer keyword, and see here we are providing two CMDs. One is from keyword, second one maintainer keyword, and we are providing two CMDs. Okay. First CMD for providing date, second CMD for providing ls-la. Give me 1 second. So even though if you give multiple CMD commands, so the latest CMD command will get executed. You see here we have provided the CMD command, multiple CMD commands. For one CMD we are giving date. For one CMD we are giving date. Another CMD we are providing ls-la. Another CMD we are providing ls-la. So this is the Docker file we are using. The latest CMD will get executed. Okay. So then how to build? We know that Docker build -t my CentOS. We are giving a new image name, my CentOS1 dot symbol represent the current location. So we have already seen these examples and all. And we have also understood what is the purpose of run keyword. What is the purpose of run keyword? We understood from keyword, maintainer keyword, run keyword in the Docker file. What is the purpose of run keyword in the Docker file? So run keyword is mainly for executing Linux commands. If you want to execute any Linux commands inside the container, then you can use run keyword. So for that purpose, we have mentioned here. We know what is from maintainer, CMD, run keyword. You see 5. Okay, fifth one. Run command is used for running Linux commands within the container. It is used for running Linux commands within the container. And what is the purpose of running Linux commands? It will be helpful for us. It will be helpful for us for installing the software in the container. Okay, it will generally helpful for installing the software inside the container. So run command also we understood. The basic purpose of run command we are using is like if you want to install any softwares, okay, we can execute those Linux commands and we can install those softwares. And try to understand the difference between CMD and run command. CMD will run only when the container starts. CMD will run only when the container starts. Run will be executed only when the image is created. CMD will run when the container starts. Run command will executed when the image is created. Okay, it will run only when the container starts. CMD అనే కమాండ్ ఎప్పుడు రన్ అవుతుందంటే ఓన్లీ వన్ ద కంటైనర్ స్టార్ట్స్. మీరు CMD అని ఇచ్చినా సరే, ఎన్ని CMD ఇచ్చినా సరే, ఓన్లీ ద లేటెస్ట్ CMD మాత్రమే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. అది కూడా కంటైనర్ స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. So run command will execute whenever the image is created, whenever the image is being created. Okay, whenever the image is being created, that time only the run keyword will be executed. Okay. So the next thing is like we are going to discuss about Kachi busting. Okay, we have a concept called Kachi busting here. So whenever an image is built from a Docker file, see what is Kachi busting? Whenever an image is built from a Docker file, Docker reads its memory and checks which instructions were already executed. See, suppose I would like to explain you what is this Kachi busting in a simple way. Consider we have these 5 steps. Okay, consider we have these 5 steps. How many steps we have provided in this Docker file? First line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line. Okay, totally we have 5 lines. So that's why I'm assuming we are going to assuming that 5 stages are there. Okay. So we are saving the Docker file. We are editing the Docker file. You see VIM space Docker file. If you provide this command, Docker file will be opened and you are going to provide the contents inside the Docker file. Suppose Once if I run this Docker file, consider if once I'm running the Docker file, ఒకసారి ఈ Docker file రన్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఏమవుతుందంటే మనకి కాచీలో స్టోర్ అవుతుంది అనమాట. కాచీ మెమరీ అని ఉంటుంది. కాచీ మెమరీలో స్టోర్ అవుతాయి అనమాట ప్రతి ఒక్కటి. Suppose when an image is built from a Docker file, whenever you try to build an image from the Docker file, Docker reads its memory and checks which instructions are already executed. మీరు వన్స్ ఈ ఫైల్ రన్ చేస్తే, వన్స్ ఈ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ రన్ అయిన తర్వాత ప్రతి ఒక్క ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ మనకి కాచీ మెమరీలో స్టోర్ అయి ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో డాకర్ రీడ్స్ ఇట్స్ మెమరీ అండ్ చెక్స్ విచ్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ వర్ ఆల్రెడీ ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్. ఒకసారి ఆల్రెడీ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయింది అనుకోండి, సపోజ్ ఈ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్, ఈ ఫస్ట్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఆల్రెడీ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయితే మళ్ళీ రెండోసారి చేయదు అనమాట. సో ఒక రకంగా చెప్పాలంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ ఏ టైమ్ సేవింగ్ మెకానిజం. ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ ఏ టైమ్ సేవింగ్ మెకానిజం. See, this is like a time saving mechanism provided by the Docker. It will execute only the latest instruction. Suppose ఈ 5 ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, కొత్తగా మనం 6th ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ యాడ్ చేసి మళ్ళీ రన్ చేసాం అనుకోండి డాకర్ ఫైల్ ని. కన్సిడర్ ఐ హావ్ యాడెడ్ సమ్ 6th ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ అండ్ ఐ హావ్ రన్ ద డాకర్ ఫైల్. See, whenever I add a 6th instruction, what happens? Only the sixth instruction will get executed. The remaining first 5 instructions which are already executed, they will not execute. They will not be re-executed again. Okay, the first 5 instructions which were already executed, they will not get re-executed. Only the recent instruction, only the new instruction you have added, that will get executed. So whenever an image is built from a Docker file, Docker reads its memory and checks which instructions were already executed. It will execute only the latest instructions. The steps which are already executed, they will not be re-executed. The steps which are already executed, they will not be re-executed. It will execute only the latest instructions. So we can say that this is a time-saving mechanism provided by the Docker. That is called Kachi busting. You understood, right? What is Kachi busting? Once you have the steps in the Docker file, and once you run the Docker file to build an image, the steps which are already executed, they will not be re-executed again. They will be storing in the Kachi memory, and Docker reads it from the memory and checks which instructions were already executed. Okay. So this is the command we are using, docker build -t, the image name we are providing to build the Docker file. We'll also see this. Okay, we'll also see this practically. But there is a drawback here. You can see the drawback here. I'll show you. What is the drawback we are going to understand from this Kachi busting is, see, suppose if you are running after 4 months, consider we have a file, and if you are using that file after 4 months, we are installing a tree from the app which is updated long time back. Consider we are updating some packages and all. So what happens? If these steps will not executed, consider what is there in the fourth line. In 4th line, we are installing Git. In 5th line, we are installing tree package. We are installing Git package and we are installing tree package. And according to Kachi busting mechanism, if these lines will not be re-executed again, suppose ఇప్పుడు గిట్ అనేది సంథింగ్ 2.3 అనే వర్షన్ తో ఇన్స్టాల్ అయింది, లేటెస్ట్ వర్షన్ 2.9 2.8 ఏదో ఉంటుంది. సో మనకి ఏమవుతుందంటే ఈ ప్యాకేజెస్ అన్ని కూడా లేటెస్ట్ వర్షన్స్ అనేవి రావన్నమాట. Whenever if these instructions will not be executed according to the concept of Kachi busting, I am talking about according to the concept of Kachi busting, the instructions once the instructions are executed, what we told according to the concept of Kachi busting, the instructions or the steps will not be re-executed. Okay, will not be re-executed. Once execute అయిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ re-execute అవ్వదు. ఎక్కడి నుంచి తీసుకుంటుంది, కాచీలో చెక్ చేసుకొని ఒకసారి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయిందని తెలిస్తే మాత్రం మళ్ళీ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయట్లేదు. ఒకవేళ అలా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయకపోతే ఏమవుతుంది? సో సమ్ ప్యాకేజెస్ మనం ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తున్నాం, గిట్ ట్రీ ప్యాకేజెస్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఇవి ఎప్పుడో లాంగ్ బ్యాక్ మనం ఒక వర్షన్ ని ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తుంటాం, 2.3 అనే వర్షన్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తాం. రీసెంట్ వర్షన్ 2.8 2.9 3 ఏదో ఒక రీసెంట్ వర్షన్ ఉందనుకోండి. సో we will end up installing those packages with the old versions itself. ఏవైతే ఓల్డ్ వర్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయో వాటిని మాత్రమే మనం అవి మాత్రమే ఉండిపోతాయి. We cannot upgrade. Why? Because according to Kachi busting, these instructions will not rerun. That is the drawback here. So suppose if you are running the file after 4 months, after 5 months, so whenever you are installing some packages like tree package or git package, from the apt repository, so which is updated long time back. They will not get updated. ఎప్పుడైతే లాంగ్ బ్యాక్ అప్డేట్ ప్యాకేజెస్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేస్తుంటామో మనం రీసెంట్ వర్షన్స్ కావాలంటే అవ్వవు అనమాట. ఎందుకంటే ఆ ఆ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ మళ్ళీ రీఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతేనే ప్యాకేజెస్ అప్డేట్ అవుతాయి. కాబట్టి అవ్వవు, కాబట్టి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వవు, కాబట్టి ప్యాకేజెస్ అప్డేట్ అవ్వవు. సో టు అవాయిడ్ దిస్ డిసడ్వాంటేజెస్ వీఆర్ యూజింగ్, okay, to avoid these disadvantages in the Kachi busting, we are using a concept of, we are using a symbol called ampersand, you see. So Kachi busting is implementing with a symbol called ampersand. So whichever the statement in the Docker file has ampersand will be re-executed. You understood now? So if we keep ampersand before any instruction, that instruction will be re-executed. Let's see here. We are using this particular from keyword, maintainer keyword, that's fine. And whenever we are updating this, if you want to update this git and tree packages, we are keeping ampersand. If we keep ampersand symbol, this particular statement will get re-executed. All the others will not be re-executed. According to Kachi Basti, once the instructions that were already executed, they will not get re-executed. కానీ ampersand పెట్టామంటే అది రికగ్నైజ్ చేసి మళ్ళా దాన్ని అప్డేట్ చేయమని అర్థం అనమాట. సో వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు అప్డేట్ బై యూజింగ్ ampersand symbol. So Kachi busting, there is a drawback with the concept of Kachi busting. So we are implementing Kachi busting with a symbol called ampersand, so that drawback will be, we can avoid the drawback. So whichever the statement in the Docker file has ampersand will be re-executed. That is the idea here. So let me go to the AWS cloud. Let's see the Kachi busting in okay, by using practicals. So what we are going to do, first we will create a Docker file. Let me show you. First, let me go to this machine. So I already told you, whenever you get this error, we need to give one command. What is that? Systemctl start Docker. Even you can search that error in the Google. The Stack Overflow, they have mentioned clearly that you have to provide one command. Systemctl start Docker. This is for starting the Docker service. Okay, whenever you get this type of errors, you have to start the Docker service first. Then you can execute any commands. So now my idea is, like you see here, we are going to implement Kachi busting. How we are going to understand the Kachi busting? First, we will let me write. Yeah. So first, let me go for this Docker file. So we don't have any Docker files at present. We are going to create a new Docker file. How to create a new empty Docker file? VI space VIM space Docker file. Okay, I'm going to give VIM space Docker file. So now I am going to give
VI space Docker file ఇచ్చినా కానీ ఫైల్ క్రియేట్ అవుతుందా సార్?
Sorry.
VI space file name Docker file. If we give VI space Docker file.
Yeah, I will create. So then we are going to give this. We are going to copy the contents. Try to understand what we are actually giving here in this Docker file. There is that Kachi was. Yes, I'm going to give this from keyword. Okay, all these things I'm giving. Okay, I'm going to give all these things. So let me first give the first four. Let me give the first four first. You know what we are doing in this, right? You understood, right? What we are doing in this Docker file. From is the base image. From is used for base image. Ubuntu is the base image. We are taking Ubuntu image from the Docker Hub, and we are giving the maintainer name as OMC, and we are giving run command. You know what is the purpose of run command? To execute Linux commands, and otherwise it will be helpful for installing any softwares inside the container. Okay, if you want to install any software while building the image, while creating an image, you can use this one. So we are updating the apt repository, and we are going to install Git. We are also going to install Git. So I'm saving the contents by using Shift:WQ. And how to run the Docker file? What is the command we use to run the Docker file? That means if you want to build an image, we have written a Docker file. Okay. If you want to build an image from the Docker file, you have to give Docker build command. Docker build -t. If you want to provide a new image name, you can provide new image name. Okay, you have to provide some image name for saving this image as your own image. So you are going to customize, right? You are going to save this image with your name, with some other name. So Docker build -t, my Ubuntu is the image name I'm providing. Let me do this. To try to understand, we have not executed any Docker files previously. Now this is the Docker file I'm executing now. This is the first Docker file presently. Okay. Now I'm going to execute this Docker file. You see, each and every step will be executed. Totally, how many steps we have? How many steps we have? How many instructions we have provided in the Docker file? Can you see? How many instructions we have provided in our Docker file? I have given only the first four instructions. I have given only the first four instructions. So now we can see the output. It will show the output in the form of instructions by instruction. The first one, what it is doing? It is taking the base image. It is finding the image locally. If it is not finding the image locally, what it will do? It will pull the image from the Docker Hub. We'll see the output from step by step. This is the first step. It has downloaded the image. Second step, maintainer. It has given some maintainer name. Then third step, it is updating the apt repository. Can you able to see? Third step, it is updating the apt repository. Come down and go to the fourth step. What is the fourth step? Where is fourth step? What is the fourth step we have provided? We have installed. We ask you to install Git. Step 4. Run apt-get install Git package we have asked to install. Now, if you observe very clearly, all the 4 steps it got executed, right? All the 4 steps were got executed. Now I am going to edit the same Docker file. Okay, I'm going to edit the same Docker file. I'm going to add one more line. I'm going to add one more line. What is that line? I'm going to add line which is for installing tree package. The line I am adding here, this is for installing tree package. So now I am going to save these contents. Again, I am going to run. So now when I'm going to run this, okay, when I'm going to run this, I'm going to give this command like docker build command only. Observe the output now. All the 4 steps, see whatever the 4 steps. Previously we had 4 steps, right? See, they are not getting executed. They're just printing. First one got printed, second step got printed, third step got printed. And it is also showing using Kachi, using Kachi, using Kachi, using Kachi. And step 5 only is getting executed. It is installing tree package. You observe clearly. Only the step 5 is getting executed. All the 4 remaining statements, all the 4 remaining instructions, they were not being executed. Why? Because they were already executed and Docker is reading them from the cache memory. Docker is reading them from the cache memory. Got right? You got it right. Docker is reading them from the cache memory. So the instructions which were executed, which were already executed, they will not be re-executed again. That is the concept of cache busting. Okay, Docker reads those instructions from the cache memory, and only the new instructions will be executed. And what is the drawback I told you? If it happens like this, if the instructions will not be executed, okay, the instructions which are already executed, if they will not execute, what happens? There is a drawback. What is the drawback? The packages which we are installing, whatever the Git package, whatever the tree package, whatever the packages we are installing, so they will not get updated, right? They will not get updated to the newer versions. If we want to update them to the newer versions, they will not get updated. So for that purpose, we are going to overcome from this situation. We are going to overcome from this drawback by using which symbol? What is the symbol we are using? Just now I explained you. We are going ampersand, ampersand. We are going to implement this Kachi busting by using ampersand, ampersand symbol. So whichever statement in the Docker file you want to be re-executed, I am not asking you to add ampersand, ampersand symbol for all the lines, for all the instructions. Anni instructions add చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. Whichever statement in the Docker file you want to be re-executed. మీరు ఏదైతే మళ్ళీ re-execute చేయాలనుకుంటున్నారో దానికి మాత్రం మీరు ampersand, ampersand అని ఇస్తే సరిపోతుంది. Okay, so you can see here. I am going to copy this one. Otherwise you see, I will edit the existing Docker file. I'll edit the existing Docker file, VM space Docker file. Now you can keep here what I have to keep, ampersand, ampersand. See, I'm keeping this ampersand, ampersand symbol before the Git package so that you see the Git package will be re-executed. This particular command will get re-executed. This Git command, whatever the Git command we are installing, that will get re-executed. Okay, I'm saving this. Now we try to understand what happens. We'll see the output so that we'll understand what actually happens. If we see again the statement 4, can you able to see the statement 4 is getting re-executed? Can you able to see the statement 3? Yeah, in which statement, in which instruction we have provided ampersand, ampersand, so that will get re-executed. Maybe because this is syntax error, and because of some syntax error, it is not getting executed. Again, we have provided run. We should not provide run. Okay, only one run we have to provide. After ampersand, ampersand, you don't need to keep run command. That's why we are getting an error. Okay, so we don't need to keep there. Let me go there.
And 133 42 3 Kumari Ganupalli.
So in whichever line, in whichever instruction you have kept this ampersand, ampersand, so that particular line will get re-executed. Okay, so if you want to re-execute any instructions, use ampersand, ampersand symbol for updating the versions of the software packages or whatever it is. By using this one, we can, by using this method, ampersand, ampersand, Okay, by implementing Kachi busting by using ampersand symbol, we can overcome from the drawback. Okay, this is one thing. And so here we have some other commands also. Let's understand those commands also. Let me show you one more Docker file. You try to understand this Docker file, what we have provided here. What is the use of from keyword, you know? Can tell me what is the use of from keyword? Base image, maintainer, some other name of the owner or name of the organization we are providing. The next line, what do you mean by this run command? Do you understand what is this run command? Run command is mainly for what? Run command is mainly for executing
To
Linux.
execute the Linux commands and install the packages.
Yes, if you want to install any packages by executing Linux commands, you can use run command. apt-get update will update your apt repository. Then the next command is like apt-get install default JDK. It is for installing Java. Okay, it is for installing Java. So this Docker file, if you observe very clearly, this is for installing Jenkins. This Docker file is for installing Jenkins. We are installing Jenkins by using Docker file. Okay, apt repository we are updating. Run apt-get update. This is for updating the apt repository. Run command we are using apt-get install default JDK. We are installing default Java package which is available there. So add one more keyword we are using here, add keyword, and another keyword is entry point. So two more keywords we are using here in this Docker file. Let's understand what is the purpose of add keyword and what is the purpose of entry point. So let me go to the commands. Let me go to the documentation where we have provided them, the notes for that one. What is the purpose of add one? See, add keyword is used for copying the files from host to the container. If you want to copy the files, add is used for copying the files from one location to another location, or otherwise from host to container. That means from local machine to your container. If you want to copy any file from your local machine to the container, you can do it. And one more thing, it can also be used for downloading the files from the remote servers. If you want to download any file from the remote servers, if you want to download any file from the internet, we can use add command. I don't understand what is add. Add is used for copying files from the host to the container. If you want to copy files from the local machine to the container, you can copy by using add keyword. And it can also be used for downloading the files from the remote servers. If you want to download any file from the remote server, nothing but if you want to download any file from the internet, we can do it by using add. One more keyword we are using called entry point. One more thing we are using called entry point. Try to understand what is entry point. Fourth one. Okay. Fourth one. It is used to specify the default process that should be executed when the container starts. The default process that should be executed. And it can also be used for accepting arguments from the CMD instructions. Let me explain you what is this default process that should be executed. Why we are using this entry point keyword. It is used to specify the default process that should be executed when the container starts. Meaning, let me go to the Docker file and show you what we are doing here. In this Docker file, if you observe carefully, we are using a keyword called add, and we are adding the URL. Consider this is the URL of the Jenkins. So once the Jenkins URL is downloaded, what is the command I have given you? What is the command we have used for installing the Jenkins war package? Suppose if we have the Jenkins war package, consider we have downloaded jenkins.war package. How to install Jenkins? What is the entry point? What is the entry point? The if command we have to give is java-jar jenkins.war. I already told you this is the command we use to extract the war file and to install Jenkins. So entry point ఎందుకు యూస్ చేస్తామంటే మనం ఏదైనా ఒక సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసిన తర్వాత డిఫాల్ట్ గా మనం ఏ కమాండ్ అయితే ఇస్తే అది ఆ కమాండ్ ఇస్తే అది రన్ అవుతుందో అనుకుంటాము. అలాంటి దగ్గర మనం ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్స్ ఇప్పుడు చూడండి జెంకిన్స్ మన వార్ ప్యాకేజ్ డౌన్లోడ్ అయింది. వార్ ప్యాకేజ్ డౌన్లోడ్ అయిన తర్వాత ఖచ్చితంగా ఈ కమాండ్ ఇస్తేనే మనకి ఆ జెంకిన్స్ అనేది రన్ అవుతుంది. So if you do not provide this command, java-jar jenkins.war, Jenkins will not be started. That war file will not be extracted and Jenkins will not be started. So in that situations, we will give the entry point. It is the default one. It is the default command we should be executed. This is the default one we should get execute. This is the default command we should be executed. Okay, for the purpose of executing the above war package. ఏదైతే వార్ ప్యాకేజ్ డౌన్లోడ్ చేస్తున్నామో దాన్ని ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేసి ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయడానికి మనం ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్ అనేది ఒక డిఫాల్ట్ ప్రాసెస్ ఇస్తున్నాం. అలాంటి డిఫాల్ట్ ప్రాసెస్ అన్ని ఎక్కడ ఇస్తాం అంటే మనం ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్. ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఇవ్వకపోతే మనం జెంకిన్స్ లోకి వెళ్ళలేము అనమాట, స్టార్ట్ చేయలేము జెంకిన్స్ సర్వర్. సో దట్స్ వై వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు గివ్ దెమ్ యాజ్ ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్. యాడ్ ఈస్ యూజ్డ్ టు డౌన్లోడ్ ద ఫైల్స్. దేర్ ఆర్ 2 purposes బై యూజింగ్ దిస్ యాడ్. యాడ్ కీవర్డ్ వల్ల మనకి యాడ్ కీవర్డ్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే by using that add keyword, we have 2 advantages. One is you can copy the files from localhost to the container. ఓకేనా, లోకల్ మెషిన్ నుంచి ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏదైతే ఇమేజ్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నామో దాంట్లోకి మనం ఫైల్స్ ని కాపీ చేయొచ్చు. అదే విధంగా ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు డౌన్లోడ్ ఎనీథింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద ఇంటర్నెట్ యూ కెన్ డౌన్లోడ్. దట్ ఈస్ వన్ అడ్వాంటేజ్ వీ హ్యావ్. ఎంట్రీ పాయింట్ java-jar jenkins.war. This is the default command we should get executed. That's why we are giving this. Okay. So what is the command we use to build an image? This is the command we use to build an image from the Docker file. Docker build -d my Ubuntu image name. So you can see here. Let me go to this Docker. Let me go to the Docker file and copy these contents. Copying it. Here, what are the things, what are the steps we have provided in the third step? Third step is updating the app repository. Fourth one, we are installing Java. Fifth one, we are downloading Jenkins and we are executing Jenkins. Understand what are the steps that are being taking place. I think it is installing Java. Okay, you can able to see here Open JDK 11. Okay, it is installing Java. And some of you asked me, so how to install Java without that command like m repository. Usually we will install Java by using sudo m install Java, sudo apt install Java, like that, right? So if you want to install the default JDK, you can install by using apt-get install default-jdk, apt-get install default JDK. This is the command you can run. This is the Linux command only. Okay, this is the Linux command you can run for installing Java. So now what is getting executed, you can see. You go to the steps. Yes, the step it is taking. Now the step 5 is running. Step 5 is running. It is downloading which package? Jenkins.war package. It is downloading Jenkins.war package. So you don't need to worry about this particular URL. You know, right, from where we are getting the URL. I asked you to go to website called jenkins.io. You go to the download option. There you can find it. You can give a right click and you can copy the link address. I can show you. So even you can provide that one. Okay. This is the URL you see. How we are getting URL? Jenkins.io var stable. This is Jenkins.var package. This is how we are getting. Okay. So even you can use that URL also. But before that URL, you have to use a keyword called add. I think yes, Jenkins.var. Yeah, please tell me. Jenkins.var package is downloaded and that image is successfully built. Okay. Now you see it is running. It is showing that this one is running. By using Docker file, you see, by using Docker file, we have installed Jenkins and we have run the Jenkins. We are running the Jenkins. If you want to access, you can access. How can we access? You go here, take the public IP of this one. Okay, take the public IP of the server and go here, give the public IP address. Default port number is 8080. We can access it, but we know if we are not able to access, we have to modify some options in the security groups, edit inbound rules. Okay. See here, now we got an image. Image is successfully built actually. When can we able to see, when can we able to access the container? We need to run that container. We need to run that container. How to run that container? What is the, how, can you tell me how to run the container called my Ubuntu? The image is what? What is the image name we have built? The image name we have built is my Ubuntu. If you want to run, we can use a command called docker run. Docker run. By using docker run command, you can give. And what is the image name? My Ubuntu is the image name. And if you want to interact with this particular container, we can provide -it. If you want to interact with this one, you can provide -it. -it stands for interact to terminal. And if the log messages should not run on your console, you can provide -d. -d stands for what? Detached mode. So like that, you can give a command. You can give a command and the container will starts so that you can able to access. We have set up the container. We have given a content. We are running the container, but something issue. We need to assign some port number. Okay, maybe some default port numbers are not working. We need to assign some port number for this, so that we can able to start it. So what is the command we use for assigning default port number and all? -b. You can use 9898 colon. What is the default port number? 8080 is the default port number. Like this we can do. So now we can access by using 9898. Let me try by using 9898. If this is the issue of port number, then we can able to access. See here, we are able to access Jenkins. Okay. So this is how we are able to do it. That's fine. These are the keywords. So we have understood few keywords here from keyword maintainer, CMD, entry point. Entry point we understood, run keyword we understood, and some other keywords we have not understood. You see, is there any scope to understand the other one also? We'll understand them. Yes, and you see, one more point I would like to mention here. So what is this Docker Hub? We were discussing about Docker Hub, right? We were discussing about Docker Hub. So the website name is hub.docker.com. So all the images that were uploaded here are available for everyone. So we are pulling the images, right? Whenever I give a command called docker pull my Ubuntu, docker pull Tommy, docker pull Jenkins/Jenkins. Whenever I use these commands, the images are getting downloaded. Images are being downloaded from there. Okay, images are being downloaded from there. So there are two types of registries actually. We are calling it as public registry. మనం ఎప్పుడైతే డాకర్ పుల్ కమాండ్ ఇచ్చి రన్ చేస్తున్నామో అప్పుడు డౌన్లోడ్ అవుతుంది చూసారా డాకర్ హబ్ నుంచి. అది పబ్లిక్ రిజిస్ట్రీ కాబట్టి డౌన్లోడ్ అవుతుంది. ఒకవేళ ప్రైవేట్ రిజిస్ట్రీ కూడా మనం క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. వీ కెన్ క్రియేట్ అవర్ ఓన్ ప్రైవేట్ రిజిస్ట్రీస్. So how to work on Docker registry? A registry is a location where our Docker images are saved. You have seen Docker Hub. In Docker Hub, we have understood, right? All the images will be there. We can download the existing images. You can download any images by using a command called docker pull. This is the Docker Hub. Okay, you can search for here for any image. So here, if you create an account here, you can register here and you can create an account. Once you create an account, you can maintain your own registry. You can maintain your own registry, and it is your option that either you can make your registry as private or public. If you want to make your registry as private, you can make it. If you want to make your registry as public, you can make. If your registry is private, only you are able to access the images. If your registry is public, everyone can able to access the image. Everyone can able to access the image from your account. Okay. So if it is a public registry, this is the Docker Hub. This is the common place where all the people will get the images, Docker images. If they want to customize, even if they want to customize also, they will get the image from here. They will get the base image from here. They will write something additional to it, and they will make customized images. Okay. So you can create an account by registering here. Very simple. You can create an account and you can push the images also. Okay, you can make your repository. You can make your repository as public. Otherwise, you can make your repository as private also. So, like how we have created account in the GitHub, we can create an account in the Docker Hub also. So, public registry is this one, hub.docker.com. So, people who upload the images here, they will be available for everyone. People who upload the images into hub.docker.com, those images will be available for everyone. Okay, so you can see here what are the steps that we follow to upload an image to the hub.docker.com. So we will use a command called docker login. We will use a command called docker login. See, whenever we log in, whenever we do this command called docker login, it will ask for the username and password. Okay. So suppose if you want to push an image into the Docker Hub, you should have an account. Okay, you should have an account. So make sure you should have an account. See, I'm going to give this command. If you provide this command, it will ask you for the login ID and password. What is asking? It is asking your login ID and password to push the images. Okay, login with your Docker ID to push and pull images from the Docker Hub. If you don't have a Docker ID, you can go to this particular website. You can create one. Okay, you can create one. That is very simple. Okay, you can create. So I don't know whether my account is working fine or not. You can do it. It is very simple. You can execute these commands to push the image into them. Don't remember what is the username. Yeah, due to incorrect username and password, it is showing like unauthorized one. If you provide correct username and password, definitely you can able to log in. Once you are logged into that one, you can simply use a command called docker push. You can simply use a command called docker push image name, so that the image will be pushed into the Docker Hub, and you can log into the Docker Hub to see whatever the images you have pushed into the public registry. If you want to see whatever the images you have pushed into the Docker registry, then you can able to log into the Docker Hub and you can able to see over there. So very simple, Docker login. You have to give a command called docker login, and you have to provide user ID and password. Then you can use a command called docker push, and whatever the image name that you have built locally. మనం ఇప్పుడే ఇమేజ్ లోకల్ గా ఒక ఇమేజ్ కస్టమైజ్ చేసాం కదా మై Ubuntu. If you want to check whatever the images you are having locally, you can see by using a command called docker image ls. Docker image ls. And just consider that my Ubuntu is the image we have done. We have customized it. My Ubuntu is the image that we have customized it. If you want to push this image, you can push by using docker push my Ubuntu, docker push and the image name. Once after logging into the by first give the docker login command, then it will ask you username and password. Then you can use docker push so that the image will be pushed into the public registry. This is how we can create images and we can push the images into the Docker Hub. Okay, so this is about Docker. Then we can start Kubernetes. Okay, we can start Kubernetes.
Vamshi, can you share the notes?
Yeah, share the notes.
The recordings as well from the last 2 days.
Videos.
Yes.
Yes, I have uploaded in the morning. Please check your please.
And share today's in recorded session as well.
Okay. So we are going to start Kubernetes from tomorrow onwards. So what is this Kubernetes? Do you have any idea? So suppose first we need to have a basic idea about all the tools. Like whenever someone asks you what is GitHub, GitHub is a source code management tool. Jenkins, CI/CD tool. Then Docker. What is Docker? What do you say about Docker? If someone asks you what is Docker, in short form, what do you say? Docker is a
Containerization tool.
very good. Docker is a containerization tool. Okay, like that. Kubernetes is what? Kubernetes is container orchestration tool. Docker is a containerization tool and Kubernetes is container orchestration tool. What is this orchestration? We'll understand. Anyhow, we understood what is containerization. We will start applications in the form of containers. That's why we are calling it as containerization. In Docker, we will start each and every application in the form of a container. Usually that is application. Whatever the applications we are starting there in the Docker, they are applications only. According to Docker terminology, we are calling them as containers. అవన్నీ అప్లికేషన్స్ మనం రన్ చేసేవన్నీ అప్లికేషన్స్ రన్ చేస్తాం. కాకపోతే డాకర్ టెర్మినాలజీ ప్రకారం మనం కంటైనర్ అంటున్నాం అంతే. నో కన్ఫ్యూజన్స్. సో దేర్ ఆర్ సమ్ అడ్వాంటేజెస్. అప్లికేషన్ కిను కంటైనర్ కి కొన్ని వర్చువలైజేషన్ కి కంటైనరైజేషన్ కొన్ని డిఫరెన్సెస్ చెప్పాం. There are some differences between virtualization and containerization. So in containerization, whatever the containers that are running, they will not depend on OS. OS మీద డిపెండ్ అవ్వాలి. అదే వర్చువలైజేషన్ లో అయితే ప్రతి ఒక్కటి OS మీద డిపెండ్ అవ్వాలి. కంటైనరైజేషన్ లో OS మీద డిపెండ్ అవ్వవు. So we understood that concept. So who created this Kubernetes tool? Google created this Kubernetes tool. It is a DevOps tool only. It is an open source tool only. And what is the prerequisite? Suppose to work with Kubernetes, we should have a tool called Docker. Why? Because if we do not have Docker, if we do not know Docker, we cannot work with Kubernetes. So the prerequisite for Kubernetes is Docker. So anyhow, we have understood Docker very clearly. That's why we are going to learn Kubernetes. Very, very important tool, and there is a good demand for this tool in the market. If you learn this tool perfectly, if you have a good command over this tool, there is a good demand. You can capture that. Okay. So we'll start this from tomorrow. Thank you all. Any doubts you have, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll do it for tomorrow. We'll continue from tomorrow. So this Kubernetes, we will teach this Kubernetes. We can complete this in 5 to 6 classes. Okay, we can complete each and everything from starting to begin. Kubernetes, whatever the things I have learned, I'm seeing in a practical way. Everything I can explain you. Okay, how to write an YAML file, what is the architecture of Kubernetes, everything I'm going to give you. From tomorrow onwards, we'll start this. Thank you all. We'll meet tomorrow for the next session. Yeah, seems no doubts. Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow.